Okay, ma'am. Right. So, what we did yesterday, we just started what are all the basics needed, right? And we'll continue on top of that, right? So, I will share this soft copy notes, ma, no issues. First, listen carefully. Okay. So, yesterday, what we did, we discussed about the basics which are all needed for a program to be framed. Okay. So, if anyone ask, hello, you guys can give that admit, ma. Okay. Okay, right. So now what are the basics required for program to be completed? So first one is programming language, programming model and language selection, right? And the next one is translator. And the third one is data types, data types. And the fourth one is storage areas, right? And I asked you guys to revise all these concepts. Okay. So next, tokens, and then programming constructs the decision making statements, decision making statements, right? And seventh one, basic structure of a programming language, basics structure of a programming language. Okay, so these are all the basics, right? So when it comes to programming model, right? So what is the programming model? The methodology in which we are trying to develop the program, the methodology we are trying to develop the a program. So what are the different types of programming models? One is procedural oriented or structural oriented programming model, and the second one object oriented programming model. Second one is object oriented programming model, object oriented programming model, and third one is relational model. Okay, so yesterday we talked about this, right? So when it comes to procedural oriented model, what are all the examples for procedural oriented model? What are all the languages are in procedural oriented model? C programming, C language, right? And shell scripting, Perl script, etc. are following procedural oriented programming model, right? So when it comes to procedural oriented programming, this will go with a top down programming approach, okay, right? So what do you mean by top down programming approach? So in case if you wanted to use a variable, or in case if you wanted to use a function, so that should be declared first and then you need to reuse. So let's say I forgot to declare a variable x, and I'm declaring that variable in line number 900. Now I wanted to use the variable in line number 901. Okay, so let's say, and I'm declaring a variable into x equal to 0 in line number 900. It won't work. So what are all the variables or what are all the functions you wanted to use? Those you need to declare on top only. Those you need to declare on top only, right? So if at all you wanted to declare a variables functions wherever wanted, whenever wanted, it is not possible. So you need to scroll up and declare a variable and come down to the 900 line and you have to use. So that's where top down approach. So procedural oriented programming is top down programming model, top down programming model. Okay, right. Now, so we'll have code reusability. So in C language, we'll get a code reusability with the help of concepts called functions. But the code reusability, what we achieved in programming model, a procedural oriented model, that is limited in nature, right? And we might face data security issues. We might face data security related issues. Okay. So we might face data security related issues, right? And we can develop a modular applications. We can make that applications modular in nature, right? So when you make that applications modular in nature, the functionalities are limited. Okay, we can develop the applications modular in nature. Modular in nature means you can take a big functionality and we can split that big functionality into small number of portions, and finally we can integrate. So even in procedural oriented programming also we'll get a modularity, right? We can get a modularity, but those are less features. We have less features when it comparing to object oriented, right? We can develop the applications, we can maintain modularity, right? And you can test the applications, right? Debug the applications, debug the applications, and maintain the applications, maintain the applications, right? So whatever we wanted to do, we can do, but that options are very less. So we need to go with complex programming. So we can do that, but complex in doing above concepts. We might face complex in doing the above concepts. So we can develop the applications in modular nature. We can develop modular applications, right? So we can test the applications, debug the applications, maintain the applications, but it is complex in nature. It is complex in nature. And we might face data security related issues. We might face data security related issues, right? But generally, the procedural oriented language that applications are preferred to do standalone applications, maybe system softwares. We can use to develop system software, right? So example of system software like operating systems. So to develop operating systems, real-time operating systems, real-time operating systems. So to develop embedded applications, etc. So to develop embedded applications, driver softwares, so etc. Operating system related applications we can develop by using this procedural oriented language. We can develop by using this procedural oriented language, right? Now, so this is a top down programming model. So we'll have a code reusability, but the features of code reusability with the help of functions we can get that, but limited in nature, right? So data security related issues we might face. So we can develop modular applications, and we can test the applications, debug the applications, and maintain the applications. But to perform all these activity, so those are all complex in nature when it comes to compared to object oriented methodology. So we can use these programming models, right, to develop system softwares. So example for system softwares are operating systems, real-time operating systems, maybe in a coin box, right? So in refrigerators, maybe in lifts, maybe in washing machine softwares. Those are all real-time operating systems. So embedded applications, right? And the driver softwares, to develop that, we can go with a procedural oriented programming model, right? Guys, any questions? Any one of you add any extra points for this procedural oriented programming model? Any one of you browse on that? Any one of you come with that? Guys, respond please. Guys, respond please. All right. Any question till here? Able to follow me? So, guys, respond. Don't be on mute. Respond, please. Don't be on mute. Respond, please. Right now. So unmute yourself. You can talk to me. Okay. So that I will understand. Will you be able to follow me or not? Okay. Please unmute yourself. Okay. Right. Now, so when it comes to object-oriented programming model, so examples for object-oriented programming model. So tell me examples for object-oriented programming: Java, Python, .NET, right? PHP, right? And what are all the examples? C++, etc. are the examples for object-oriented programming model. So even JavaScript also, with the JavaScript also, we can go with object-oriented JavaScript. Okay, right. So what is the programming methodology it is following? It is following bottom-up approach, bottom-up um, programming model, bottom-up programming model, right? And we'll get code reusability, right? So to get code reusability in Java or any object-oriented programming, we'll be going with a concept called types of relations. Types of relations in Java programming, right? So when it goes with types of relations, there is a relation called is a relation. There is a relation called is a relation. This is called inheritance. And there is a relation called has a relation, right? Now this inheritance is called as there is a generalization, right? Now there is a relation called has a relation. This is called aggregation. Maybe you can call it as composition, etc., etc. Flavors of aggregation and association, etc. Okay. Now uses a relation. So with the help of these relations, we can develop applications and we'll get a code reusability. So these will help you to work on one-to-one, one-to-one, one-to-many, many-to-one, many-to-one, and many-to-many, many-to-many relations. So these will help you to work on these relations in Java applications, right? Now, and we'll get data security, right? We'll get data security. So how you will get data security? With the help of a feature of object-oriented technology, there is a concept called data encapsulation. There is a feature of data encapsulation, and with the feature of data abstraction, so we'll achieve data security. There is a feature called data encapsulation, and there is a feature called data abstraction. With the help of that, we'll get data security. And by using object-oriented programming model, we can develop modular applications. We can develop the applications in a modular applications. So the applications which developed with object-oriented programming, so easy to test the applications, right? Easy to maintain the applications, easy to debug the applications, right? So the applications which built with object-oriented programming, so it is easy to test the applications, maintain the applications, debug the applications, right? Easy to test, debug, and maintain the applications. We can build modular applications. Right? Now the way of coding is exactly similar to real world scenarios. The way of coding is exactly similar to real world applications. Real world applications. So these are all the features of object oriented model. So these are all the benefits why you prefer to go with a object oriented programming. So when you go with a object oriented programming, it is a bottom up programming approach and will help you to build the applications faster. Why? Because there is a concept called code reusability. So we'll get code reusability in object oriented programming with a concept called types of relations. So what are all the different types of relations? There is a concept called is a relation. There is a concept called has a relation. There is a concept called uses a relation. So with the help of these relations, we can develop one to one, one to many, many to one, and many to many relations, right? And we'll get data security. So to get data security in object-oriented principles, there is a concept called data encapsulation. With the help of data encapsulation, we can secure the user's data, and we can develop the application in a modular manner. We can develop the applications in a modular style. In a modular style, okay. We can develop the applications in a modular style. We can develop the applications in a modular styles, and we can easily test the applications whatever you build. Easy to maintain the applications, easy to debug the applications, and the way of coding is exactly similar to real world scenarios. Real world scenarios. The way of coding is exactly similar to real world scenarios. I will tell you what is it mean in coming session. Right now, this is why we prefer to go with a object oriented programming. So if you build the applications in object oriented programming, it is easy to convert a problem into a real problem into a object oriented application, and it is easy to correlate into real world scenarios, right? And we can develop the applications in modular style, and we can get a code reusability, data security, and the applications built with object oriented model easy to helping us to test the applications easily, maintain the applications, and debug the applications in a more easy and convenient manner. Okay. And then there is a relational model. So what is relational model? So PL SQL, right? So what is PL SQL? There is a PL SQL. So PL SQL is a is a programming model which is adding programming capabilities to the SQL, to the SQL. For the regular SQL, it is adding a programming capabilities by using
సార్
relational model also. Yeah.
oops లో పాలిమార్ఫిజం కూడా ఉంటది కదా సార్?
అన్నీ ఉంటాయి మా, నేను just only and I'm telling few concepts, and I'm not introducing object oriented principles. Okay, just
ఓకే
and
సార్,
I'm
ఓకే
telling
ఓకే.
what is the difference between object oriented programming methodology as well as procedural oriented programming methodology.
ఓకే
So
సార్, వాట్
I
ఈస్
will
వాట్ అని
introduce
చెప్తున్నా.
amma
వాట్ ఈస్ వాట్ అని చెప్తున్నాను అంతే సార్. ఓకే ఓకే,
ante.
అర్థమైంది.
So I didn't go with object oriented programming model and its features, just and I'm telling differentiate between the procedural oriented programming model as well as object oriented model, and why we are preferring to go with the object oriented model. So if you go with the object oriented model, right, these are all the benefits we'll get. We'll get a code reusability, we'll get a data security, and the applications built, we can easily test the applications, maintain the applications, and debug the applications. And the way of coding is exactly similar to real world scenarios. We can correlate with the real world scenarios and convert into object oriented programming. Okay. So when it comes to relational model, yes, by using relational model also you can write C equal to A plus B factorial programs, but it is an extension to your standard SQL. Okay, got it now. So next, till now any questions? Guys, any question till here? Can I go further?
Yes, sir.
Any questions, ma? Everyone, respond please. Okay, right. Now, so next, after finalizing programming model and after finalizing the language, we need to go with a translator. So what do you mean by a translator? As mentioned yesterday, translator is nothing but a software which can translate high level language representations of your source code into machine level language representations and vice versa. Am I correct or not? What do you mean by translator? Translator is nothing but a software. Translator is nothing but a software which can translate high-level language representations of your source code into machine-level language representations and vice versa, right? So translator is nothing but a software which can translate high-level language representations of your source code into machine-level language representations and vice versa. What are all the different types of translators? Compiler, interpreter, and assembler, right? So C language and C++ language, C and C++ language, etc. languages depends on compiler. So all lines compiled at a single time. So then interpreter, line by line. Java is line by line compilation, right? So let's say while you are running your Java application, and if it encounters any syntactical error, so it will highlight that particular line only. It won't highlight the remaining lines. It will highlight the initial line only, line by line compilation. Now Java, right? So to speed up that interpretation phase, generally when it comes to compilation, compilation is more faster when comparing to interpretation. So to speed up the Java interpretation phase, so Java people added just-in-time compiler. They are adding a just-in-time compiler to speed up just-in-time compiler to the Java virtual machine. To the Java virtual machine, they are adding the just-in-time compiler to speed up the Java interpretation phase. To speed up the Java interpretation phase, to speed up the Java interpretation phase. So their Java people added just-in-time compiler to JVM in the next version. So first version JVM only there, and to speed up the interpretation phase for the JVM, they are adding a just-in-time compiler. So now the Java interpretation phase also faster when comparing to compiler. Okay. Now assembler is a old one. You no need to worry about that. Okay. So translators are three types. One is a compiler. So compiler compiles all lines of your source code in a single shot, whereas interpreter compiles line by line. So highlights each and every line syntax error. So if the first line itself encounter a syntax error, so it will stop further compilation. It will go with the first line and it will tell you the error there itself. Remaining lines won't get affected. So after solving the error, then only it will go and check the remaining lines. So Java is an interpreter based application, right? To speed up the Java interpretation phase, Java people added just-in-time compiler. Okay. Now, next we'll be coming with data types. So yesterday we talked about data types. What do you mean by data type? The type of data which we are going to pass to the system as an input, and the type of data which we are processing inside of a system, and the type of data which we are trying to store inside of a system for future reference, and the type of data which we are returning from the system as an output is said to be a data type. So what do you mean by data type? The type of data which we are going to pass to the system. System means application, which we are going to pass to the system as an input. System as an input, right? The type of data which we are going to pass to the system as an input. The type of data which we are going to process inside of an application, inside of the system, right? The type of data which we are storing inside of a system for future reference. The type of data the type of data which we are going to return from the system, from the system as an output, as an output, as an output is nothing but a data type, is nothing but a data type. So what are all the different types of data types? What are all the different types of data types? What are all the different types of data types? There are different types of data types. One is primitive data types, primitive data types, derived data types, and user defined data types. User defined data types. Right. Now, I'll give you a couple of minutes. Let's find out what are all the primitive data types in Java, what are all the primitive data types in C, what are all the primitive data types in C++. Okay, right. So what are all its sizes and ranges? Just browse for that. I'll be back in 2 minutes. So hope you understood my question, right? Hope you understood my question, right? Yeah, browse for that. Listen carefully, right? I'm back. Okay, what are all the primitive data types? By using primitive data types, we are able to hold only single value within a variable memory location. So primitive data types or the variables of primitive data type are used to store only single value. See the variables of primitive data type, the variables of primitive data type able to store single value within its memory location, right? Let's say, and I'm defining a variable of type integer. So max underscore batch, let's say, and I'm going with minimum batch underscore size, right? So minimum batch size, and I'm going with 10. Okay. Min underscore, let's say I'm going with a constant variable, min underscore batch, batch size, minimum batch size. Okay. Now maybe I wanted to go with this variable and I wanted to make this variable as constant. So if you wanted to make this variable as constant in Java, we are going to use a keyword called final keyword. Now there is a variable and we are able to hold a single value. And what is the variable name? What is the name of a variable? The name of a variable is min underscore batch underscore size, right? So in this variable memory location, we are able to hold only single value, right? So it is not possible to store multiple values, something like 10, 20, 30, it is not possible. We are able to hold only single value within a primitive data type variable. So example for primitive data types in C language. So when it comes to C language, what are all the examples for primitive data type? Byte, sort, int, long, float, double, char, right? So these are all the primitive data type variable. So when it comes to C++, when it comes to C++, when it comes to C++, when it comes to CPP language or C++ language, one more data type is added extra for this. So what is one more data type? That is Boolean data type. So olden days in C language, how we are going to deal with Boolean data type? To deal with this Boolean data type, so people might use 0 or 1. Okay, 0 or 1 to deal with the Boolean value, true false value. But when it comes to C++, Boolean data type is introduced. So how many data types? 8, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So when it comes to Java also, we have 8 primitive data types. We have 8 primitive data types. When it comes to Java also, we have 8 primitive data types. Sir, what's the difference? See, data type to data, language to language, the data type, sizes and ranges might vary. The data type to data type, the sizes and ranges might vary, right? So what do you mean by primitive data type? The variables of primitive data type able to store single value within its memory location, right, ma? And what are the examples for primitive data type in C language? Byte, sort, int, long, float, double, right? And C Java, Boolean data type is extra. And for each and every language, the data types, sizes, and ranges might vary. So language to language, the data types also change. When it comes to PL SQL and when it comes to SQL, there is no double data type. There is a data type called number. And when it comes to MySQL, there is a data type called decimal, right? So the data types might change, right, ma? But when programming language C and C++, these are all the primitive data types. So for each and every language, the data type sizes and ranges might vary. Okay. Now, what is the difference between primitive data type and derived data type? So primitive data type variable able to hold a single value, and derived data types. So example for derived data types are array. So let's say, and I'm going to use int marks. So and I'm going to define an array of style like this. Now and I'm going to give marks something like this. Let's say, and I'm giving 78, 89, 90, 90, something like 78. So how many marks? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there are 5 subjects and marks of I, 0, marks of 0 index. The value is 78. The value is 78. Marks of 1. So index always starts with 0 to n minus 1. So marks of 1 will be 89. And the variable name is 1 only. but it is able to hold multiple values within a single memory location. Am I correct or not? Now the value is 90. Now marks of 3, third location, meaning fourth element, right? And marks of 4, the value is 78, right? So this is derived data type. The variable of example for derived data types are arrays and pointers. Arrays and pointers are examples for derived data types. Arrays are example for derived data types. So by using derived data type variable, by using derived data type variable, we are able to store multiple values of similar data type within a variable memory location. Within a variable memory location. Got it, ma? So by using derived data type variable, we are able to store multiple values of similar data type elements within a single variable memory location. So that is the difference between primitive data type and derived data type. So example for derived data types are arrays are an example of derived data type. Arrays are example of derived data type. Arrays are an example of derived data type. By using derived data type variable, we are able to store multiple values of similar data type elements within a variable memory location. Right. Now, then what do you mean by user defined data type? So if you wanted to store multiple values of same data type or different data type elements within a single variable name, then we are going with user defined data type. Example for user defined data type is structure union in C. So class, packages, interfaces, abstract classes, etc. in OOPS. Right? Example for user defined data type. So by using user defined data type, we are able to hold by using user defined data type. We are able to store multiple values of similar or different data type elements within a single variable memory location. Right? So example for user defined data types are structure or union. So let's say maybe if you remember in C language, and I'm not asking much about, so there might be using a keyword called structure. Now I'm going to define a structure called employee with the help of a struct keyword in C language. Now I'm defining a variable. So int emp number. So there is no string data type there. So char 20 size, right? Now I'm going to use employee number, emp name, right? So char of size 20 or 8, right? Now I'm going to use emp password, right? Now I'm going to define double emp basic int emp dept no, right? So long emp pin code, etc. Right? Now, and I'm able to store multiple values of similar or different data type elements together. Right? Now, and I'm defining a user defined data type. Now, what I'm trying here, what I'm doing, defining the template for user defined data type. So what I'm doing, so first and I'm defining the template for user-defined data type. Defining the template for user-defined data type. Then what I'm trying to do next, declaring a variable of type. Now, and I'm going to declare a variable struct. My structure name is employee. Now I'm going to define a variable something like emp1, right? Now this is emp1 is a variable of type employee, and this type is a structure, right? Now what next step? Declaring a variable of type user defined data type, of type user defined data type, right? This is the second step. Now third step, initializing the initializing a variable of type user defined data type. So let me show you an example. So how we are, right? So how we are going to initialize a value for this, initialize values for user defined data type. Now, and I'm going to give something like, I might forget the syntax. So struct emp1. Now I'm going to give a initialize the value, right? Now how I'm going to initialize a value? Maybe I forgot C syntaxes, but generally we are giving like this 1001, right? Now we are going to give a employee name. So employee name is a character array. Employee name is a character array. S R I N I S R I N I Srini, S R I N I Srini, right? Now you need to give a password, right? Now I'm going to give a password something like admin. Yet something like that, right? Now employee password, employee basic, and I'm giving something like 10,000.345. Now employee department, now I'm giving department number 20, and I'm giving pin code something like 5,78. So this is how, and I'm going to give a value, initialize the variable of type. Now what is the variable? Employee. What is the variable? Employee1, right? What is the variable? Employee1. Now this is of type what? This employee1 is a variable of type employee, and this data type is having able to hold multiple values of same type or different data type elements within a single variable name. The variable name is emp1, and inside of this emp1, how many values are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and these 6 elements of different type. Am I correct or not? So if you wanted to hold multiple values of same data type elements or different data type elements within a single variable name, then we are going to use user defined data type. So if you wanted to use a user defined data type, first of all, you need to tell about that user defined data type structure. So what is the user defined data type? What are all the properties or what are all the elements to be there, and what are all its types? Then after telling about this user defined data type, you need to declare that user defined data type variable, and then initialize the variable, and later you can make use of that. How you can access? Maybe you can access emp1 dot employee number, emp1 dot employee name, emp1 dot employee password. Then these values will come in picture. These values will come in picture. Hope you understood, right? Now, so what do you mean by data type? What do you mean by data type? So the type of data which we are going to pass to the system as an input, and the type of data which we are going to process inside of a system, and the type of data which we are storing inside of a system for future reference, and the type of data which we are going to return from the system as an output, is nothing but a data type. And how many categories of data types? There are three different types of data types. What are all the three different types of data types? Primitive data types. So primitive data types are used to hold single value within a variable memory location. And as the name variable means, the value might change or might not change during program execution, right? And what are all the primitive data types? When it comes to Java, there are 8 primitive data types. What are all the 8 primitive data types? Byte, sort, int, long, float, double, char, and boolean. These are all the 8 primitive data types. And for each and every language, the data type sizes and ranges might vary. Now, what is the difference between a primitive data type and derived data type? So primitive data types are used to hold single value within a variable memory location, whereas arrays are an example for derived data types. By using arrays, we can store multiple values of similar data type elements within a single variable memory location, right? Now, what is user-defined data type? If you wanted to store multiple values of same type of elements or different data type elements within a single variable name, then we are going to use user-defined data type. So if you want user-defined data type, so user-defined data types are not created by system. It is not available with the language. You need to tell about that user-defined data type. So to tell about that user-defined data type, first of all, you need to tell about the template of that user-defined data type. Then you need to declare a variable of that type and then initialize the variable of type. So by using user-defined data type, we are able to store multiple values of same type of elements or different type of elements within a single variable memory location. Example for user-defined data types are structure and union in C language. And when it comes to object-oriented programming, classes, packages, interfaces, abstract classes, etc., come under user-defined data types. Got it? Now, when it comes to user-defined data type, you need to follow 3 steps. What are the 3 steps we need to follow? Tell me, what are the 3 steps need to be followed? First 3 steps need to be followed. Tell me. So declare a variable of type user-defined data type. That means defining a template. And then declare a variable of type. Then initializing a variable of type. This is how you are going to deal with the data types. Right? Guys, any questions here? Any question here? Kaushik, what is a derived data type? Arrays are an example for derived data types. So use it to store multiple values of similar type of elements within a single variable. Got it? Yeah, strings are not come under derived data types. Strings are come under user-defined data types. So string is a predefined class. So in C and C++, there is no string data type. We are going to deal with strings with a character array. So that's where when I define a structure, here I'm going with a character array. Here I'm going with a character array. There is no string in C and C++. Okay. So in Java, there is a string. That string is a user-defined class. That means predefined class. Malik. Understood? So string is a user-defined data type. Good question, ma. So able to follow me till now? Guys, respond please. Any questions? Can I go for next? Am I going faster or you guys are able to follow me? Can I go further, ma? Respond, please. Okay, right. Now, storage areas. So, as I told, so you need to store the data either temporarily or permanently, right? So, just let me copy and paste the details, ma. Okay. So, right now, so we need to maintain this application data, right? And let me place and explain what is it, right? Now, so what do you mean by storage area? So we need an area to store the data, right? So we have temporary storage area. So variable RAM is considered as temporary storage area in our system. So variables, register, objects, etc. in programming. These are all come under temporary storage area. Once we are coming out of the program, the data which is stored in the variable and the data which is stored in that object got erased from the system. But if you wanted to store the data permanently, then you need a permanent storage area. So example for permanent storage areas are files and databases. Now, when to go for files and when to go for databases, remember, never ever degrade any specific language, any specific system. So each and every language and each and every system has its pros and cons, right, ma? Now, let's say, sir, and I'm having object oriented programming, I prefer to go with a Java. Then what is the need of C, right, ma? So without C, we can't develop operating systems and we can't develop real-time operating systems and we can't go with the embedded systems, right? Still, C language is mostly used in your system applications, right? Then Java used to develop web-based applications and projects, right? And similarly, files, right? So files comes with some drawbacks, but still we need a file. So I need a report. That report need to be sent to uh, a manager, right? So you are not giving database access to the manager, right? So you need to give the required data, gather required data, place that required data in a file and convert that file into a PDF and send that information. Maybe your updated resume. So that updated resume should be there inside of a PDF format or Word format. It shouldn't be there in a database style. Am I correct or not? So never ever degrade any specific system. But when it comes to file systems, we have a lot of drawbacks. So there is no data security. Anybody can open and see the data. These are all not compatible with internet applications, not portable. Why? Because operating system to operating system file formatting is different. So when it comes to mainframe, there is an operating system, multitasking operating system is there that is used the files in the format of a something like vsam, etc., etc. So when it comes to DOS operating system, we are storing the files inside of a folders, maybe inside of a briefcase, etc. Right? When it comes to Linux operating system, we are storing the files in the format of a .txt file. Right? Now, operating system to operating system file structure is different, and it is difficult to store large volumes of the data. When you try to store large volumes of the data, there might be a chance of data duplication. There might be a problem of data consistency related issues, right? And to perform any changes or modifications or updation on the data, there is no proper language or tool support. So every line you need to scan, and inside of that you need to find the word and you need to change, right? There is no specific language support to help you to do basic operations, right? So that's why real-time systems, we used to store the data inside of a databases, not inside of a files. So files only used for reporting purpose. Files only used for reporting purpose, right, ma? So what is file system? When it comes to file system, there is no data security, not compatible with internet applications, not portable, and operating system to operating system file structure is different and difficult to store large volumes of the data. Still, if you try to store large volumes of the data, then we might face maintainability issues, and it is very difficult to modify the data, and we might face data redundancy, that means data duplication issues. Data redundancy meaning maybe data redundancy, data duplication issues, data consistency issues, inconsistency. We can't sure whether the data is accurate or not. So we might face that issues. And to perform any modification or updations on the data, we don't have any proper language support to do so. Okay, so that's where it is suggestible to go with the databases. When it comes to databases comes with security, right? And in data, we are able to connect to the database with proper credentials. So role-based access and authentication. So authorization, authentication is most important, is most important to connect to the database. Am I correct or not, ma? So only specific users are able to connect to a specific table, right? And if you don't have valid credentials, those guys are not able to do any insert, delete, update operations on the table, right? And to connect with the database, you need a proper username, password are mandatory. So you can go with a role-based authorization, and you can go with a authentication, right? So databases are comes with data security, and we can store large volumes of the data. So while storing large volumes of the data, here also we might face data duplication issues and data consistency issues. So in that case, while designing the database itself, you need to follow Dr. E.F. Curd proposed rules. Dr. E.F. Curd, who is the person considered as father of the databases, and he proposes normalization and data integrity rules. Normalization rules helps you to eliminate data duplication. Integrity rules helps you to maintain the application data consistent. Consistent means valid across your project lifecycle. So you need to follow database design rules. By following normalization and data integrity rules, at that time we can eliminate data redundancy, that means duplication, and data inconsistency related issues. Okay, and compatible with internet applications. So there is a SQL language support to store, create, insert, update, read, and delete operations. And we can easy to maintain the applications. That means we can take a backup of the database, we can provide security, we can allow some triggers to run. Let's say after 11:59, I wanted to take a backup of that database regularly. So that will take care. You can write a trigger, the trigger will run, and it will take a backup of your data. So you can easily maintain the applications. So let's say I wanted to delete duplicate records. So you can write a stored procedure, or you can write a trigger that will do its job. So it is easy to maintain the applications when you go with the databases, right? So what are the different types of storage areas? There are temporary storage areas and permanent storage areas. So the data which is stored in temporary storage area will erased from the RAM memory once you are coming out of the program. But as part of your enterprise applications, you need to maintain your application data consistent across your project lifecycle, and you need to maintain the data permanently. So in this case, we can go with a permanent storage areas. When go with a permanent storage areas, again, we have a files and databases. So it is suggestible to go with the databases. Why? Because databases will give you data security, right? So authorized users only can do manipulations on the table, and if you have valid credentials, then only you are able to do anything on the database. So databases mostly comes with data security, and we can store large volumes of the data. While storing the large volumes of the data, then before storing the data itself, you need to go with a proper database design. So to go with a proper database design, you need to follow the rules and regulations given by Dr. E.F. Curd, and you need to follow normalization rules. Normalization rules help you to eliminate the data duplication and improve the data retrieval performance. Data integrity rules mostly helps you to maintain the data effectively and consistently. So what are all the data integrity rules? There are 4 data integrity rules. Later we'll discuss about that. So entity integrity rule, referential integrity rule, domain integrity rule, and user defined integrity. You might heard about entity integrity, primary key. You might heard about relational integrity. So primary foreign key relation. You might heard about domain integrity, check constraint. You might heard about user defined integrity, right? By using triggers, right? So you can make use of the database rules and regulations. Then we can avoid the previous problems. And the databases are comes with SQL language support for doing the basic data manipulations. And the databases helps you to maintain the applications data effectively by taking a backup of the data, by eliminating duplicate records, by copying the transactions into a separate table, and doing the manipulations, counting the number of transactions happen on a particular day, etc., etc. So we can make use of PL SQL or making use of some scripts to maintain your applications data effectively without losing any data. Okay, so that's where it is always suggestible to go with a databases to store the data permanently. Understood, ma? Guys, any questions here? Guys, any questions here? Any questions here? Understood? Right, ma. So next we'll have tokens, right? Programming constructs, decision making, basic structure of a programming language. We'll discuss about that in coming session, right? So have a look into that, and later by weekend we'll discuss about data types, sizes and ranges. So what is the need for you to remember the data type sizes and ranges? So how important it is, and we'll discuss each and everything. And we'll discuss each and everything. So what I will do, ma, I will prepare a soft copy material and I will give you soft copy material so that you can go through. Okay. So any questions still here? So as I told, so a couple more days I will go in a slow manner, ma. So once everyone are in the same phase, then we'll discuss little more. Okay. So any questions here? Guys, any questions here? Good. Everyone, unmute yourself, respond. Ma. Any questions? Able to follow me? You're facing any issues while understanding? Am I going faster? అర్థమవుతుందమ్మా అందరికి?
Yes, sir.
Right, ma. So prepare on this, ma. Prepare on this, and we'll discuss more tomorrow. Okay. So I will update, ma. Tomorrow class is there or not? I will update. Okay. Yes, ma. I will send soft copy, Harika. I'll send soft copy. So by 12 or 12:30 today, I will send soft copy materials. Okay. In the group, I will share WhatsApp group. Raghu, we'll do practice problems a little later, just to go and revise the theoretical concepts, data types, sizes, ranges, right? And how many bytes it will occupy, what is the range, etc., etc., and how to declare a variable, right? So what are all the features of Java? Just go with the basics, ma. Next week onwards, we'll start small tasks. Okay. Just let me make sure everyone are in the same repository. Malik, this session is already recorded, ma. So I have started the recording already, I guess. I have already started. So this recording will be available like as it is. How you guys access to previous recordings.